Man and nature. Man is an integral part of the nature. In fact, man is one of the best creations of the nature and the Almighty, especially with respect to its body structure, intelligence, and creativity. Although he is the creation of nature, but he has created a number of wonderful things and ideas which can be used to make this world the best place of the universe. Being the natural creation, man derives all its basic necessities from nature, whether it is food, clothes, or shelter. If man approaches to enjoy the natural resources following the rules and procedures of nature, no doubt there will not be even a single problem either for man or for nature. But the present scenario is different. Today, it can be easily observed that the desire of fulfilling the greed is dominating the desire of fulfilling the need. As a result, man has adopted a number of malpractices to make more profit. Many a times, these malpractices are adopted deliberately, but sometimes they are used because of ignorance. The contamination and adulteration are such practices. Food cycle in nature. Nature is composed of a variety of ecosystems. They are forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, water ecosystem, and so on. Although these ecosystems have their own identity, but they are interdependent. Ecosystems maintain themselves by cycling energy and nutrients obtained from external sources. At the first trophic level, primary producers like plants, algae, and some bacteria use solar energy to produce organic plant materials through photosynthesis. With the help of food only, plants and animals take essential nutrients such as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. The food is ingested and assimilated by the organism in an effort to produce energy, maintain life, or stimulate growth. As food passes through the digestive system, it is digested and absorbed. The process of oxidation of absorbed nutrients releases energy. Food is not only the source of energy, but it is also the source of all those nutrients which are required to build, maintain, and repair the body. Food also supplies some more nutrients like vitamins and minerals which are essential for resistance, power, and safety of man from the diseases. Thus, food is essential for the growth and development of the body, energy generation, catalyzing the biochemical reactions, and developing the immunity of body. This is possible only if the food is full of nutrients and devoid of impurities and harmful substances. Food contamination. Food contamination refers to the presence of harmful substances, especially chemicals and microorganisms and non-edible items in the food, which can cause illness or improper functioning of body systems of the consumers. Food contamination by chemicals is an important public health hazard. This contamination may occur through environmental pollution of the air, water, and soil. Toxic metals, PCBs, and dioxins, or the intentional use of various chemicals such as pesticides, animal drugs, and other agrochemicals have serious consequences on human health. Food additives and contaminants used during food manufacture and processing also adversely affect the human health. As opposed to chemical contamination of foods, the microbial contamination can be found under foodborne illness.
Food is the major source for our nutrition to get the energy, and food contamination makes our food inedible and also causes illness. There are many sources for food contamination, including biological, physical, and chemical. Biological food contamination is usually because of the bacteria and other organisms in our edible food, and physical contamination of food is because of presence of agrochemicals, heavy metals, and other harmful pollutants. And physical contamination of food is caused by presence of physical materials including hair, plastics, while processing also packaging material also.
Sources of chemical contamination. There are a number of sources for food contamination. These are fertilizers and pesticides, perchlorate, food preservation, artificial colors, fats and sweeteners, genetic modification, food adulteration, etc. Fertilizers and pesticides. Fertilizers and pesticides both have definite pros and cons associated with their use. Both types of chemicals tend to increase yields and thus make a significant increase in food production, particularly in countries where food is the biggest problem. On the other hand, both can cause water pollution when erosion carries the chemicals along with eroded soils after each rainfall. There is also concern by some authorities that pesticides pose a risk for smaller organisms such as fish, like bioaccumulation of pesticides in their bodies. When these smaller organisms are eaten by larger organisms, residues of pesticides get biomagnified, thus crossing hazardous levels when we consume such organisms. The downside of fertilizers is that some portion inevitably washes into waterways along with eroded sediments. This runoff occurs nationwide, and the nitrogenous fertilizers find their ways into rivers, lakes, and the ocean, where they cause eutrophication and kill aquatic life. Eutrophication is a process whereby nitrogen feeds an algal bloom. But when the short-lived algae die, decomposing bacteria consume most of the available oxygen, hence suffocating aquatic life. Additionally, the use of artificial fertilizers in place of animal or green manure cover crops plowed into the soil eventually can deplete soils with organic matter, making them lose their ability to hold water and more subject to erosion.
In the agriculture field, pesticides are used to control pest attack from insecticides, and DDT is a major pesticide that we use in our agricultural field. But DDT causes cancer also, and the excessive use of pesticide in agriculture field, that because of being the lipophilic, DDT gets into our food and into our body, and it is carcinogenic also. There are research reports which reveal the fact that DDT causes cancer. And another pesticide, the organocolorant pesticides, organophosphate pesticides that are used in agriculture fields, they causes very harmful effects in our body. And food contamination due to agrochemicals is a major concern, and perhaps India is the only country where DDT is still being manufactured and being used in agriculture practices. There are reports because of after the Green Revolution, particularly in Punjab, there is one train from Abahor to Jodhpur, and that train is called as cancer train because it carries many cancer patients from Punjab to Bikaner, and that shows the harmful effect of excessive use of pesticides and food contamination, and because of that more cases of cancer are emerging in our society.
The effect of pesticides on humans has not yet been completely understood. Most people are exposed to a certain level of pesticides. Farmers who experience routine exposure to pesticides have exhibited neurological symptoms such as headache and hand tremors. Children in particular may be more susceptible to negative effects of pesticide exposure. Pesticide runoff can have devastating effects on non-target organisms as well. For example, Roundup, an extremely common herbicide used in agriculture, is highly toxic to fishes and amphibians. The National Coalition for Pesticide-Free Lawns says of 30 commonly used lawn pesticides, 19 are linked with cancer or carcinogenicity, 13 are linked with birth defects, 21 with reproductive effects, 26 with liver or kidney damage, and 15 with neurotoxicity, while 11 with disruption of the endocrine system. Some of these pesticides are aluminum phosphide, DDT, lindane, methyl bromide, methyl parathion, sodium cyanide, methoxyethyl mercuric chloride monocrotophos, endosulfan, phenitrophenone, diazinon, phentheon and dazome.
Perchlorate. Perchlorate gets into the environment due to a series of human activities. Military operations, rocket research, firework displays and other activities implying explosive materials are perchlorate. Many industries using perchlorate salts as well as natural formation in arid climates. Thus, food pollution by perchlorate is a serious problem that has yet to be defined in other areas of the world. Perchlorate may cause metabolism disruption by affecting the normal function of thyroid. Food preservation. We all know food preservatives are harmful, but we still ignore the harmful effects of food preservatives and happily opt for preserved and processed foods like canned fruits, vegetables, seafoods, meats, packed juices, aerated drinks, etc. The list is endless. Manufacturers use preservatives such as nitrites and sulfides in processed foods to inhibit growth of microorganisms. These preservatives increase our health risk. Nitrites are common preservatives used in processed meats and fishes to prevent bacterial growth. When we consume such foods, our body converts nitrites to carcinogenic substances called nitrosamines. Artificial colors. Artificial food coloring ingredients contain plenty of chemicals. Many are derived from highly toxic sources and can cause many different diseases, disorders, and mutations in humans. A trivial amount of food coloring in a piece of a candy we eat may have harmful effects on us. Artificial colors aren't just in junk food or sodas. Some salmon farms actually add red food dye to make them appear more appetizing. When looking for fish, a customer always wants the freshest they can buy. A pink or red salmon is much more appealing to eat than one that's grey or just darker. There have been petitions to ban these chemicals and dyes, but most of them still remain in the market. It will really take some more researchers and widespread awareness to ban these chemicals from making their way into our food. Fats and sweeteners. Industrially produced fats and sweeteners, common in processed foods, are bad for our health. Manufacturers use trans fats which increase our risk of coronary artery disease in breads, cookies, margarine, and microwave popcorn. High fructose corn syrup, a sweetener used in soft drinks, salad dressings, and desserts, can increase our risk of obesity. Genetic modification. Scientists have been and are currently introducing genetic material into organisms to alter, create, and affect changes in living plants and animals. Scientists are developing specific, desirable traits that might never evolve naturally. This is extremely dangerous. Collectively called recombinant DNA technology, this practice changes the core genetic makeup of organisms. This genetic manipulation gives scientists the ability to create any trait that they wish or suppress natural traits they don't want.
This genetically modified food like DDT, when it was first considered as a boon to agriculture, genetically modified seeds are also being considered as boon to our agricultural production. But a comprehensive research investigations are necessary to confirm the effect of genetically modified food like BT cotton, BT brinjal, and such the reports are there where the genetically modified food and agricultural products, they are not being considered very sustainable in terms of ecology and in our environmental concerns. They are having some harmful effects also, and that's why there are agitations world over.
There are several reasons behind this unnatural genetic manipulation and their effects. However, we have some questions in this regard which are unanswered. It's usually not clear which consumables have been genetically manipulated. We don't know the long-term health effects of these genetically modified foods. Agrochemical companies and the government are planning to charge farmers free to grow their genetically modified organisms crops, thereby negatively affecting the economy and environment. Food adulteration. Adulteration in food is normally present in its most crude forms. Prohibited substances are added. In India, normally the adulteration in food is done either of financial gain or due to carelessness and lack of proper hygienic conditions of processing, storing, transportation and marketing. The ultimate result is that the consumer is cheated and often becomes a victim of diseases. Commonly, argemone seeds and oil have been found in mustard seeds and oil. Foreign leaves or exhausted leaves have been mixed with tea leaves which are being used by the consumers. Rancid oil is mixed with oils. In food grains and pulses, the adulteration by mixing sand, marble chips, stones, etc. Cadmium has been reported to be mixed in fruits and soft drinks, etc. Food chemicals may have been placed on the food for positive reasons, but they can have negative effects on human health also. Thousands of man-made chemicals are being added to human food supply these days. Even infants are not spared from being exposed to food chemicals every day. Naturally, the human body is not supposed to be exposed to large amounts of chemicals either through their surrounding environment or through their food intake. Continuous exposure to harmful food chemicals may lead to serious health problems and various other side effects. There are several side effects that are resulted from the constant exposure of chemicals mixed in food. Some of these side effects are extremely harmful and they cause disorder in nervous system, breast and other types of cancer, reproductive damage, headache, body tingling sensation, hyperactivity, immunological or allergic reactions, and so on. Protecting foods from chemical contamination.
The Food and Safety Standards Authority of India, that is FSSAI, has been established under Food Safety and Standards Act 2006, which consolidates various acts and orders that have handled food-related issues in various ministries and departments. FSSAI has been created for laying down science-based standards for articles of food and to regulate their manufacture, storage, distribution, sale and import to ensure availability of safe and wholesome food consumption. The Act also aims to establish a single reference point for all matters relating to food safety and standards by moving from multi-level and multi-departmental control to a single line of command.
Advice to consumers. Select fruits and vegetables without spots or necrosis and any other abnormality. Wash fruits and vegetables thoroughly with water before cooking and eating. Peeling of fruits before consumption and vegetables before cooking will reduce exposure to pesticide. Do not buy and consume cut fruits from open market. Throw away fruits and vegetables infected by mold or fungus. Do not wash fruits and vegetables with detergents as they may get absorbed inside. Ensure the quality of fruits and vegetables by sending them to voluntary testing laboratories. Wash your hands with soap and potable water. Use clean utensils and clean cutting board with stainless steel knives. Effect of chemicals in environment. Environmental contaminants are chemicals that are present in the environment in which the food is grown, harvested, transported, stored, packaged and consumed. The physical contents of the food with its environment results in its contamination. Over the past century, humans have introduced a large number of chemical substances into the environment. Some are the waste from industrial and agricultural processes. Some have been designed as structural materials and others have been designed to perform various functions such as healing the sick or killing pests and weeds. Obviously, some of the chemicals are useful, but many are toxic. They harm the environment and our health. We need to manage the risks better by using those chemicals which are safe. Chemicals enter air as emissions and water as effluents. Industrial and motor vehicle emissions of nitrogen and sulfur oxides cause acid rain, which damages fishes and other aquatic organisms in rivers and lakes and affects the ability of soil to support plants. Carbon dioxide causes the greenhouse effect and climate change. Chlorofluorocarbons cause the destruction of ozone in the stratosphere and create the possibility of serious environmental damage from ultraviolet radiation. Chemical fertilizers and nutrients run off from farms and gardens cause the buildup of toxic algae in rivers, making them uninhabitable to aquatic organisms and unpleasant for humans. Some toxic chemicals find their way from landfill waste sites into our groundwater, rivers, and oceans and influence genetic changes that compromise the ability of life to reproduce and survive. The impact of human activities on the environment is complex and affects a chain of interconnecting ecosystems. The extinction of species all along the chain may mean the loss of useful genetic material, life-saving cancer drugs, and so on. Conclusion.
At one time, many centuries ago, most people's diets were very simple. They ate the food they grew themselves or that were available from nearby farms and dairies. The most complicated problems that they faced often involved the development of methods to preserve food for those seasons of the year when it was not immediately available. That way of life persisted well into the 20th century. The rise of modern chemistry during the century's early decades made possible a new and dramatically different way of looking at food. Food scientists developed methods for transforming natural food not only to make them last longer, but also to make them more interesting and appealing to eat. Now the question is, what is the future of the food industry in India and other nations of the world? Are we seeing just the beginning of a new age in food with an ever increasing number and variety of synthetic or altered food that we can hardly imagine today? Or are public concerns about health issues and possible risks to the environment going to create sufficient concern to make governmental agencies to rein in the kind of changes that researchers can make in food and that food companies can offer to the public? No doubt, today we are concerned with these questions, and without finding the solutions to these questions, it is not possible to dream of a safer and healthier food as well as a protective environment.